Did you know that by looking at and studying your Etsy stats daily, you can focus in on specific areas that need improvement and increase your revenue significantly within just a few months? It worked for me and it can work for you. Hello, I'm Leslie Chandler, and I'm a creative spirit, and I've been an Etsy shop owner for the last 10 years. I hadn't really started looking at my Etsy stats up until about this time last year. And so now I look at them routinely every morning with my coffee, and I'm continuously learning about what the Etsy tools and stats are all about and how I can use this information to improve my sales. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, please hit the like and subscribe buttons to learn more. This is going to be the first in a series about Etsy stats and how to use them to improve your sales. All right, so we're going to start out in our shop manager after we get onto Etsy. And then we're going to quickly go over here to the left sidebar and choose the little graph here icon. That is where we look at our stats. All right, so the first thing that I want to point out that we can see here is this little time period drop down. The important thing about this is that you choose consistently when you're looking at your statistics to see how you're doing. So you want to make sure of the time period that you're looking at. You have several different choices in this drop down. You can look at your stats for today, yesterday, the last 7 days, last 30 days, this month. That's the one that I usually look at. This year, last year is really nice to look at for comparisons. You can look at your statistics for the entire time you've been on Etsy or you've had an Etsy shop. And then you can actually click on custom to choose the time period from and to that you want to look at your statistics, and then just hit apply here down at the bottom. So just be consistent with what you're looking at. The little clock here indicates the last time that the statistics were refreshed. So you may be looking at something and it may not reflect your actual, say, your orders. Maybe you know that you've had 59 orders, but it's only showing 57 because those last 2 orders haven't been updated yet. So always keep that in mind when you're looking at your statistics. We have our visits, orders, conversion rate, and revenue. And I'm going to explain those in a little bit of detail here. So what exactly is a visit and how is it different from views? That seems to be a popular question and it can be a little bit confusing, but simply put, a visit represents the number of people who came into your shop or a listing, and the views tells you the total times people looked at each of your listings. For example, if one shopper landed on your listing through a search and then viewed 4 other listings, this would count as 1 visit and 4 views. Okay, so we figured out visits, and now let's look at orders. That one's pretty easy. What items or what amount of items have you sold in the time period that we're looking at? Just remember, it may not be completely updated just yet, so watch that little update time clock up here. And then the next thing is the conversion rate. The conversion rate is one of the most important measurements you can use to grow your business. And so what we're trying to determine here is what percentage of the visits to our shop actually converted to a sale. So to figure this out, we take the number of orders divided by the number of visits. So in this case, for this time period, for the month of October, you would take 57 orders divided over 1,937 visits, and it would equal out to 2.9% conversion rate. Now, the average conversion rate for e-commerce sites is around 2.9%. So that's good if you are around 2.9. Now, do we want the conversion rate to be higher? Yeah, because that would mean a higher percentage of the visits to our shop convert to a sale. So how do we make that number better? That's another training coming up very soon. But in short, many things like the quality of your item photos, the price, reviews, listing titles, and description and shipping and return policies can affect this rate positively or negatively. All right, now let's look at revenue. Revenue in your shop stats usually equals your sales minus any discounts you provided to buyers. This total doesn't factor in your selling fees, shipping costs, or orders that you have fully refunded and canceled. So revenue equals sales minus discounts. Now let's go down here to this little graph. This is really good for you visual folks out there. But first, before we look at the graph, I want to show you something really cool. So you can click on each one of these titles here to compare yourself to last year. So when I click on visits here, I get this little note that says visits increased 45% compared to the same time period last year. If I click on orders, We can also see that my orders have increased by 146% compared to the same period last year. Also on conversion rate, my conversion rate increased by 69.7% compared to the same period last year. Apparently, October wasn't a great month for me last year. And then the same with revenue. So you can just click on each one of these to see your comparison to this same time period for last year. Additionally, if you like the graphs for those of you that are more visual, you can click on the check mark here down at the bottom to see the comparison for the time period for last year. So if I click on this, then I can see both years or both October. Since I'm looking at the October period, I can see that this month or this current period is the line with the circles. And then you can, if you click on the little circle, it'll give you the exact comparison for the date. So we're looking at October 1. There's the circles, that's current. And then the squares here is last year. Now let's scroll on down here to see this section, how shoppers found you. This breaks it down as to how shoppers came to be in your shop. It's broken down even further by the things that brought people to your shop. So the very first thing that we see here is the Etsy app and other Etsy pages. That's visits from the Buy on Etsy app and other pages on Etsy.com, including editors' picks, the homepage, and favorites. Now you can click on that to dig into that a little bit further. And you can see a lot more about the visits that were produced or the items that the Etsy app and other Etsy pages brought. So you can kind of dig into that a little bit more. And you can actually see the statistics of that particular section here. So let's go back. An Etsy search, meaning visits from people that searched within Etsy and found your shop item. You have Etsy marketing and SEO, and that would be visits from Google, Yahoo, Bling, and other search engines. Direct and other traffic. Direct and other traffic, visits to your shop, visits from blogs, news sites, and other websites that sent traffic to your shop. And then social media, that is things like Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter that brought visits to your shop. And then Etsy ads. Okay, now let's scroll on down to the views, the shopper's views. This is the number of times people looked at your listings. Remember, it's not the same as visits. And then you have this little listing views per visit ratio of total views to visits. This is an average of how many listings people look at when they visit your shop. So I certainly would like that to be better. Now take a look at these views. If you'll notice, we have some different information here. We have views, and this is the default. So it starts with the items that are most viewed, and it's sorted in that order. So views is the default here. You also have favorites, orders, and revenue. So if I wanted to, I could actually sort these columns here by clicking, because maybe I just want to see the item that I had the most orders for this time period. So if I click on orders, we can see still this item is my item that had the most sales, and then it goes down to the least amount of sales. Same with revenue. And I can also sort this in the opposite direction. So these are the items that I would need definitely to work on things like the photos, the titles, the tags, the descriptions, and things like that. So these are the kind of items that we're not having any sales. So we want to look at these items and see how we can improve and hopefully get some sales on these items. Well, I really hope you enjoyed this little tutorial about Etsy stats. I can't tell you how much it's really helped me improve my shop, and I hope that this has been helpful to you. And I hope you'll come back for the Etsy Stats 101 Part 2, where we're going to dig into a little bit about how we can use that information on the Etsy statistics to help us improve our shop. So hit that subscribe button and come back next week, and we'll share that series or that part of the series.